Hi, welcome to the State of the Nation with me, Mike Sham. And today we've got somebody on loan. We've got somebody that we're borrowing for this session, and that is on loan from Biz News, Neil de Beer, leader of the United Independent Movement, political party, but these days political commentator extraordinaire, doing some great work. If you haven't watched him on Biz News, he does a piece every week. It's the first thing I watch on a Monday morning. And he's a guy with a long and interesting history. Spent time in the old South African Defence Force, and then made his way to Mkonto with Sizwe when it wasn't fashionable. Then into government, in intelligence. So basically always a guy that worked with intelligence, and he seems to get a lot of intelligence, even though you're not working in the military anymore. Neil, welcome properly to the State of the Nation. I'm so glad that you're finally here.
Yeah, Mike, I said I wouldn't miss you today.
You little lying.
Been following you, and I like media that says as that it is.
Yeah,
we need more of that. So it's more of a privilege. Thank you very much to be here.
Yeah, and then to make matters even better, we catch you on a rare trip to Gotham City here, which is what we're going to rename Johannesburg if we
Amen.
don't find another suicide bomber to name the city after.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're up here. You're based in the Cape, aren't you?
I am. I'm Cape Townian based. I'm also a councillor there of the city.
Right.
So got my link on the pulse, but Cape Town is the place.
Yeah.
But the heart lies here, hey? The industrial heart, the business heart. You can see.
Not so sure anymore.
I'll tell
Our
you
city
why.
fathers are trying desperately to kill it off.
Kill it, yeah. They're not successful. As I said to you pre the show, Rottweiler chases the bakkie. Bakkie stop, wat gaan jy nou doen? Bite the tires. A lot of work to be done. But I must tell you, still today, when you land at OR Tambo from Cape Town, you wake up.
Yeah.
That's why they call Cape Town the mother city. It takes 9 months to take any decision there. So, I think the heartbeat is still here, Mike. We just need to go back to basics and get it right for the citizenry. And you're right, we're failing right now.
And certainly Gauteng as a whole has been caught up in the sort of politics of the last year, leading into the election and then post the election. Everybody's playing politics. We were playing politics for the last, in the build-up to the election, and now we're playing politics thereafter. And the metros have suffered, the province has suffered, everything suffered. The voters voted, and they didn't give anybody a clear mandate. So it's going to be interesting to see how Johannesburg or Gauteng retains its place or regains its place as it should.
Well, it's been in default since 2021 when we went into the first municipal elections I took part in. And you could see it crumble. And what was amazing was to sit in coalitions, because at that stage I was in a coalition with the Freedom Front, the DA, IFP, ACDP, in Joburg Council. And there was this continual structure of having meetings so that we could relieve the ANC and the other side of management and governance of the city. It's never happened again. It's lost. It was lost again recently. And what happens, Mike, is the citizens suffer. This is a power play. I'll say it clearly. This is power. This is governance. This is positioning. This has nothing to do with the city. This has got nothing to do with the fact that I just told you, driving here from Pretoria, past Diepsloot, past Steyn City, not one traffic light is working. And then you tell me, well, Neil, that's not the real one.
Yeah.
At night, there's no lights working.
Yeah.
How do you then go back and say that the money, if you look at it as a business, Mike, it's actually investment capital that we as a ratepayer are putting into an entity. We want return on investment. If this was a company, you'd go past business rescue.
Absolutely.
It's gone. And to save this city, I'm telling you, between 15 and 25 years to regain where we lost.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I think the only thing that's going to get people to perhaps sober up, we've discussed it many times on the show, is probably a well-coordinated rates boycott. because, as you mentioned, nobody is mentioning the client, who are the people that live
Sure.
there, that pay the rates.
The funder.
And in actual fact, we're having a touch of it now with the changes that have happened in Tshwane, and we'll talk about that in a minute, where the argument is about people who aren't paying rates and not about people who are paying rates. Yeah. And it's crazy to me that that is allowed. And I've got to say, as a ratepayer, we're allowing it. But it's very hard under the South African law to coordinate things like those kind of rate boycotts. But we've got plans. Don't you worry. But Neil, I want to go back, because obviously UIM, you contested in 2021, and then you were part of the multi-party charter.
Yeah.
Right, the grouping that got together, it was last year, to form some kind of grouping that was going to hopefully challenge the ANC for leadership of the country as a group, right? And it didn't work. It failed quite badly, and then fell apart almost immediately because the DA was already in discussion with the ANC. Take me back to the multi-party charter. Do you think that it was an idea, now with hindsight, it was an idea that had merit, or it had no merit?
I think as usual, initial ideology was the right one. But I think we were too early. I think we were not in the doldrums too much. But here's the fact. There was no one, in my opinion, that stood out that went for the ANC's jugular. It is clear with all the videos, it is clear on evidence that every presentation at the multi-party charter, when I spoke, they even told me at one stage they can't get me a script anymore because I just don't follow it. If you want to defeat an enemy, if you want to calculatedly wipe out the opposition, you don't negotiate. You take them on, you take your kid gloves off, and you rumble them. You put them on their knees, and then, if necessary, we negotiate. The multi-party charter never came to the point where we put the ANC out of governance. We just didn't have it. We didn't have the momentum. We had the improbability inside of the disparities between parties, which absolutely halted a lot of our progress, the inner fighting between each other, the differences of opinion. But there was one thing. There was a collective. John Steenhuisen, myself, Dr. Groenewald, Schlabisa, ICDP, Kenneth Meshwe, the people that were around the table. There was, though, consensus on a lot of stuff, which was amazing. But the intent was good. The implementation failed. And when we saw, remember, Mike, the African National Congress did not go into this election to govern. They went into this election to survive. That's a different mentality. So they had to start talking about survival. At that stage, no one knew the impact of MK. Not even the ANC, dare I say, not even MK knew the bloody impact that they would have. They got it by surprise.
Yeah.
But when it came to it, I think the demands from the Red Devils, Frikkie Malema, and the rest of the people in the cohorts, their demands were too dark, their demands were too RET, and I think they chose the DA and the current GNU partners because, in my opinion, they were better clay that they could handle and form on their own.
Oh, because, boy, have they handled that clay. They have been at it like a man with 10 hands. Yeah. But let's go back to, once again, because we're going to get there in a second, and that is that the multi-party charter is formed. It always looked like like someone's heart wasn't in it. It sort of showed from everything that I saw. And almost immediately after the results are announced, there mystically seems to be a deal that was done. It was obviously negotiated
so quick
in advance, so quick, yeah. But the DA goes out there, says, look, they want to save South Africa from this doomsday coalition. That's why they're in. But immediately it's the death of the multi-party charter, isn't it?
That's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I resigned from it.
Yeah.
Not because I had a differentiation of certain ideologies. I gave my word, Mike. Isn't that weird? we are talking and reminiscing about something called your word is your bloody honor.
Yeah.
You know, I always say a lawyer writes an 84-page document, which basically is just to ensure you keep your word. Where have we gone? So I'm a word guy. Mazal. Shake it, it's done. I told my constituents, I told the UIM supporters, we will not form, no matter the cost to us, and it was a cost, any partnership with the ANC. This is the draconian opposite. They took us here. They destroyed us here, the ANC of today, not my ANC of 88. And I left. We walked out. We suffered consequence at the election. We paid the price of being in that MPC. But we left. We now look at it and say, what if the people in the canoe are all currently deciding that the canoe is it, and that thing starts to sink? Mike, what happens to the people that are now floating in the abyss? They can't go back to our position. They can't go back really with their chin up high. So what's the alternative? So I took a decision that I will now go stand outside the peripheral. I will not be silenced. I will not sit in a cabinet meeting with a president where you must be silent. I will attack them as per norm. Now I'm just a commentator. Yeah. No one's going to DC or discipline me. Yeah. I am it. Yeah. And I fight for the people, Mike.
Yeah. Now, as a commentator, do you think that, what do you make of the decision of the DA to go into the coalition with the ANC?
I'm clear on that.
Yes.
They had no choice. So we buy it. No problem. The Oros is on the table. The ice and the mixture of water, it's perfect. I never denied the fact that I don't have the IQ and EQ to understand we didn't have another option. Rather them, I say it, than the other side. But that's common sense, Mike, which seems not to prevail always in politics. So I'm with it. What I am not supporting is the now apparent silence of the GNU partners who differ hugely in manifesto, in profile statements and portfolios. And they're not saying anything. And the first litmus test was the Bella Bill. We failed. NHI is next. Land without compensation, the physical taking of it, it's next. And what will the then GNU say? Well, they've not said much now. And that's my critique. Yeah. It seems the only person, and I say this with respect, is Helen. It seems Helen is the only one, barring from the capability of John to go in and put on table, because that is what I know him as. He can sit and negotiate. I have physically seen that. But he has to play that role. I know he does. He has to be the peacemaker. He has to be the person that brings everything back again.
So he's good cop.
He is good cop. But the provocateur is Helen. And let me tell you, doomed is the day, like her or not, that she starts to disappear, because she is the wrecking ball. And it keeps them on their toes, Mike.
Who does it keep on their toes?
Well, I'll tell you, Fikile and Balula and the ANC and the people dread her. They can say what they want. As the Aitani aankom met haar karretjie, they know here is going to be a systematic Moor session. So they know it.
Yeah, but they know it, but she never really prevails. They never win anything.
No.
They've been systematically dismantled in every bit of this coalition.
So
from the number of ministers to everywhere.
Yeah. They've sucked on the hind tit.
Yeah.
That's a fact. So they will threaten to leave. They won't leave. Well, they can't leave, because currently this is hanging on the stability of this country, economically, financially, and future. So the absolute fight of the GNU is now coming to another problem that has surfaced. And that is, and I'm doing a Sunday show on another platform, that I am unpacking now the problem that we've got between being a cabinet minister and the leader of a party.
Yeah.
Can they
Well, I was pretty clear on that, and I don't think they can.
Yes. No, they can't. And I'll tell you, it's not because of, I think, purpose. When you serve in a cabinet at the behest of a president, this is a different ballgame. Unless you've not sat in those meetings, unless you have not had direct info from those meetings, this is a school teacher, this is a principal meeting. Jy kom in die principal sit en die onderwyser hou sy back. You just keep quiet. It's like saying before you get appointed at a school to the teachers and the parents, I'm going to come make a change.
Yeah.
I will do this. You walk in and the principal says, sit. It's a different way. I'm telling you. So the DA has a policy, the Freedom Front has a policy, etc. I don't see those policies now being mustered or being put to the test.
Because there appears to be absolutely no new ideas, plans, etc. It's the old ANC playbook being implemented. And it sounds to me like the DA's plan is to do, but just do it better. That seems to be the only thing that they're bringing to the party, is perhaps a bit more competency. We'll just make this concentration camp run a little bit more slickly than what it used to run.
But it remains a concentration
It
camp.
remains a concentration camp.
Vakila said that.
Yeah.
Vakila, ek doen verskriklik niks.
Yeah.
Vakila said it. He didn't object. He said we will follow ANC policy. No one rebuked him.
Yeah.
No one said, There was a small rumble. So let's be honest. Let's be straight with each other, Mike. It's an ANC show. It's propped up by others that had no choice to save a country. And that's the mustering they need to do until 2029.
Yeah. Now, do you,
But sorry, can I add what you said? The caveat was, make no mistake, Pieter Groenewald, Doc, is having success at correctional services because of who he is. He's a straightforward guy. Dean McPherson is dynamic. I'm telling you that. I can see it. Leon Schreiber, he's doing well. John is clawing at it, and that will still remain the Ulster judgment of why agree. I have my theories. But he's not standing back. He's doing his thing. But the same Umchunu of police is doing something. So you get these ministries that are currently, as a ministry, doing well, but not promoting the policy of their party they belong to.
Yeah, now I wanted to go back and interrogate one of the things you said when you say that they had to do it and that it's the alternative. Let's interrogate the alternative, because I'm not 100% sure it's as terrifying as it sounds.
It's a nationalistic,
Yeah,
socialistic,
yeah,
communistic,
yeah.
orientated governance.
Yeah, which is exactly what we've lived through for the last 30 years. So what I'm saying is...
Nay.
Yeah,
90 years.
yeah.
As if the bloody National Party
Yeah.
wasn't nationalistic,
Yeah.
socialistic,
Yeah.
and undemocratic.
So what I'm saying is that this whole idea of the doomsday coalition,
Yeah, we've had it.
we've had it. So the coalition comes in. Let's just say this thing falls apart tomorrow, right? What happens to South Africa?
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? What happens? Listen, the IMF will be here in about 6.5 seconds to say, excuse me, just behave a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like clawing with this idea of saying we're saving South Africa, where I don't see this as a saving of South Africa. Do you understand what I mean? I'm saying I don't see what they've saved us from, because what could Deputy President Malema have done? What could he have done?
You said a word now 4 times in 2 minutes, which people don't get. You said Africa. Africa. Yeah. Do you realize we are in Africa? We've got this, I think, very, very demakar kind of ideology confused. We're not Europe,
No.
Mike. We're Africa. We have a standard set and aptitude of a Western civilization that was enforced at one stage to bring a Western culture, a Western ideology, a Western modernization attitude to an African continent. And argue like you want to, we were much more progressive in modernization than Mozambique or Zim or Angola. It's just because we had that modernization aptitude of the then Western philosophy. But Africa was going like Africa goes. The African National Congress's ideology was that the people must govern, but we still had the Communistic Party as a tripartite partner. We still have COSATU as a labor movement. And may I say that globally the SACP and trade unions have become irrelevant. They are no longer a modern partner that you should have because they actually stifle the economy. Yet the ANC does not drop them. They're still in cahoots. But what would the government look like if Julius took over? What would it look like if Zuma took over? It's no different.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We lived under Zuma.
Sure.
We know what it would
We
look
lived
like.
under the ANC regime 30 years.
Yeah.
They governed as close to as what they could on a national front. They wanted to also do certain moves.
Yeah.
Nationalisation of Reserve Bank, land a stig a SOE per day.
Yeah.
You and I need to look back and go, I must tell you I don't agree with that. But then I'm a vehement capitalist. I'm a Democrat in that sense. But I also told you I'm a conservative in value. So what do I see? I didn't see a major change. We would have just had what we had previously, but just another guy on a poster.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is I don't see the point of being in a coalition where you compromise everything. You say nothing. You say nothing about a compromised justice minister. You say nothing about the Bella Bill. You say nothing about being shafted in the provinces, etc. To save South Africa from what? I don't see the alternative as having been a whole lot worse than this.
Well, the question is, what is your appetite? You will always speak about we can fix this, but there must be political will. That's a strange sentence. Political will.
Yeah.
You took a job, you put your face on a poster, you get elected, now go do not the political will, go do the people's will. You bloody went there. I had to read a document into council the one day where I said, you know that you're a public servant. It's actually described as that. Why are you called that? You're a servant. So we've turned politics into masters.
Yeah.
Look at the thing that happened today. 360 million rand on overtime for bodyguards of VIPs. Who are you afraid of? This is ridiculous that you spend 4 billion in the police budget on VIP protection and only 4 billion on crime intelligence in their budget. Who's prioritizing what, Mike? So I'm telling you, once the blue light reigns, the black PM runs down the line and you get generators for free. That's moeilik hoor. You can't go back to being normal. And that's where the argument has laid. It's no longer about the people's will. But whatever side this country goes, be it a democratic, capitalistic kind of entity, or be it a social being, it is still South Africa. And unfortunately, it's the poster caption. It's the propaganda. You know, someone said to me one day, for you to have the master of a nationalistic entity, you must first find an enemy. Once you have the enemy, you have an objective. The DA's enemy, the Freedom Front's enemy, all those people's enemy during the election was, no doubt, rescue South Africa from whom? Take the DA and their onslaught on the Doomsday Coalition. What a great banner. And the people bought it because they see it every day, and that is the mantra. So that was put there. What is the RET faction? What's their mantra? Well, it's nationalize. It's take it back. The people must own it. But then you ask someone that is in that faction, so you're going to nationalize land and you're going to have government take back the land. And then just, Mike, where are we, hey?
Yeah.
This is La La Land.
Yeah.
And we drink it.
Yeah. But all I'm saying is that the only thing that's going to get us past this is the fever has to break.
Yes.
You have to get a critical mass
Yes.
of people that understand that this is bullshit, right? And I'm saying I'm using one thing as a important marker. We now have the country hemorrhaging professionals, but the interesting thing about the hemorrhaging of professionals is not only white professionals,
That's all.
right? But what countries are they going to?
Yes.
So they're not going to Venezuela. But yet their parents are telling voters that they should vote South Africa into being Venezuela, while their children are going to live in Europe.
In London.
Yeah. So, it's at odds with the way the world works, and we know that. But it will eventually revert to the mean. I'm saying that people, sometimes you have to go down to the bottom of the barrel before you understand where the floor is, right?
Yeah.
And I'm saying that in South Africa, and I don't know if the DA is doing us a favor by keeping us this far from the bottom of the barrel. Let's go to the bottom. Let's see what it feels like.
Yeah.
Let everybody see what it feels like, and then perhaps we'll make some common sense decisions.
That takes balls.
Yeah.
That takes guts. They say a pilot, as I understood it, when a plane stalls, one of the things they teach you is to then push the lever forward to gain speed. And then when you get critical speed, you pull up so that you can get lift. But can you imagine in that 8 minutes, 5 minutes, that you're actually going to the ground and you're in control? To go beyond that, that takes something extra.
Yeah.
Question, where's our Churchill? Where's our leader? Where's our Mandela? Where's the person? Do you know, Mike, that in the traditional side pre-94 of the ANC, up till a point I would say just before Polokwane, there was never competition in the ANC of who would be the successor. Think about it. OR Tambo knew he was. Mandela knew he would take it from OR. Mbeki knew he would take it from Madiba. And then the bomb burst. Then we had for the first time direct people contesting the ANC presidency. I was 22 years in and out of the ANC. That was the biggest shock, is when you had a person outside the organization of tradition get up and say, nay, I'm going to stand against you. We didn't know how to handle that. We didn't know how to conceive that. Competition in ANC leadership? Never. You were elected by the branches. Now you had power play. And then came that evil thing, money. Now you could buy a presidency. It wasn't about the branches or the people anymore. That changes the face of the oldest liberation movement in this world. So where are we sitting today politically? We are sitting with a GNU. They're not yet a year. I think they are now on 157 days. As I like what you say, the fever is not broken. The fever is still ample. It's there, and they're trying to wet-duck it to stay calm. But I'll tell you something. You said it, and you said it clear. The people don't realize they have the power. They have it. And for 80, 90 years when we had one party, I'm telling you, we didn't have a democracy. We had a one-party state. We had a fallible, boutique-dressed democracy. ANC governed at one stage more than 60%, if you can recall. So that's where we're saying we must never ever have that again, where we have one soluble party being a quasi-dictatorship. We are in new territory. We are in brand new territory of coalition, smaller party nagging. We are sitting where you said it, and I agree. No one got the majority. What now? They got 40, Mike. 40% the ANC, yet they govern 60% of the country's management. How did that work out?
Yeah, it's madness. It's absolute. It's crazy. But so, looking at what we've got now, we're busy trying an experiment of
yes,
this coalition. There's a few ministers out there. It might spur some of the ministers. You mentioned some of even the ANC ministers are being sort of pricked a little bit to do a better job.
Yeah.
And people are liking it. The rand is a little bit stronger, and the petrol price comes down as a result, and we feel a little bit better. Do you think this is an experiment worth doing? You know, it's a bit like just that person getting his foot off your throat feels quite nice. Because do you think this is an experiment worth doing?
It's going to come down to staying power. Do you know how the ANC beat you? They drown you. They drown you with committees. They drown you with meetings. They've got so many a day, it will make hospice look weird on a daily basis of survival. And hospice does a bloody good job. So you sit with people who are trying to say everybody's ill. We need to get you into a place so that we can just take care of you. They know there are people in this that want to take care of the country. You and I do. We have nothing but to save our country. They drown you with bureaucracy. That's what the ANC does. They did that in the first GNU, where the National Party was part of it, where the IFP was part of it. What happened, Mike? Well, it disintegrated.
Yeah.
It was founded in 94 and it collapsed in 96. What happened to the National Party? Anybody remember? They shut.
Yeah, they did, yeah. Kortbroek, the new National Party, and then it didn't.
And where did he go?
Yeah, to the ANC. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So don't forget that the National Party folded into the ANC. This is a warning sign. So when you look at the GNU and you look at the PA and you look at the UDM, which are the obvious suspects, but if you look at the three, I'm telling you there's three core partners outside the ANC. It's the Freedom Front Plus, it's the IFP, and the DA. Those were the establishers of this. These were the people that put it together. You'll always see they are relevant, and they always refer to each other. So that is the point. Break those three. We don't have a GNU left. So can they keep the muster? Can they continually get up and say, no, no? Will their no stay consequent? Or will they, after 3 to 4 years of GNU, they just go with the river flow? My hope and your hope should be that they maintain that battle of being an internal opposition. But I'm sorry to tell you, we are not here to lie. This is blatant. It's not doing well for the experiment.
Yeah. We're still yet to hear one no.
Well, we hear no, but we don't hear consequence of the acceptance of the no.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help you. That is like sitting in a swimming pool. You are absolutely drowning, and every time you pick up your hand, the lifesaver says, I'm on my way. Jy gaan verdrink. So we've got to get to a realistic proportion. The chappie we are chewing, when they put it in their mouth, it was absolutely sweet, and the chastise of Perry was great. Hy raak nou afgesaag. The flavor's going out, so it's just a chewable thing. But what was the good thing about the chappie, Mike? It was the did you know inside. Yeah. So will they lose the flavor, and will they come up with a sporadic did you know kind of stuff?
Yeah.
And it's not being transferred from GNU to GPU to GLU. It's failing at GLU.
Yeah. And I suppose it worked at in KwaZulu-Natal because they had a common enemy in the MK. It hasn't worked in Gauteng at all.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, do you see this GNU making, how far do you see it going? There's a couple of real markers out there.
December the 18th, 2027.
Okay. All right. We know what that date is.
Right. And now the people are surfacing, Mike. The contenders. And you can see them come. You can actually see the factions coming up. It's my opinion that Cyril is trying to muster someone to take over the succession so that there is no failure of the GNU. But then he's got these opposing factions now sticking up their head. One of them is the obvious next, but I don't think he's going to make it. And the other one is in denial.
That would be the deputy
That will
president.
be Paul Bashatile.
Right.
But I see rumblings.
Why? Tell me about the rumblings.
Well, John Steenhuisen said it 3 weeks before the elections on the Union Building steps. Here are the dockets against the Vice President. Where are they now? Where are the dockets? Well, I don't know. It was on the news. So can you imagine now he's your Vice President? No, man. Jy praat mos nou louter, jammer, here comes a beep moment. Can I do it?
Ja.
Jy praat mos nou kak, man.
Ja.
Nonsense. How can you tomorrow say to the person that he's now untouchable, but Tuesday you said this man is a criminal. This man has dockets. This man must go to jail. And then 2 months later you go, the bigger picture. No. He must go to jail if he's guilty. This is the failure. This is the failure of management consequence in this country. You can do what you want, but you don't go to jail. So we have to change that. But you can see Mr. Lusufi, he's sitting there and he's going like O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
The glove doesn't fit. Jy praat kak, man. Nonsense. You have aspirations.
Yeah.
So he's building his and by the way, Mike, if he isn't, he's an idiot.
Yeah.
Because he has now the pull. He's now seen as the local rebel boy within the family. He's struck Joburg. He has struck Tshwane. He's going for Ekurhuleni. And once he's then got Gauteng, he has one in the bag. It's about 5 marbles, not 3. He needs this province. He needs Mpumalanga. He needs Limpopo. He needs maybe Free State, a chunk of the Eastern Cape. And if he can pull KwaZulu-Natal and the MK factions, then he takes it. He's got 5.
Yeah.
That's about what happens in December 2027. So they're starting to surface. There'll be more. But I think currently those are the main players that I see popping up, only my humble opinion.
Yeah. And of course, whoever is brought in to challenge him will look pale by significance, because if it's somebody like Ramokgopa,
Yeah.
he's going to look like a guy who's about process. He's going to look like a worker as opposed to a rebel.
Sure.
And that's not sexy.
He's going to be an Mbeki,
Yeah.
not a Jay-Z.
Yeah. And we know that we don't put those people on our T-shirts.
No, you don't.
We put Che Guevara on our T-shirts
Yes.
because he's a
Yeah,
revolutionary.
he's a rebel.
Yeah, so it does look like that way. And so what you're saying is that you do see it surviving the local government election.
Yes, I do. Yes, but MK is coming.
Yeah.
You can see the rumblings everywhere. They are biting their hyena teeth to get into this next election. They needed certain tent pegs, and that's from inside, because they were absolutely hapless and they were disorientated after the win. As I told you, I think they didn't know they would get that chunk.
Okay.
They had to stabilize. They had changes in leadership. There was a lot of rumbling. But then they started to settle. Now, if you have a wild, crazy, unrigged ship, yet the ship is of good quality, change the captain. Get yourself leadership that can stabilize it. I'm telling you, that's what they're doing. So what was the first move? Hlophe. Not because of his competence, not because of his history, but because he is the only one that has knowledge integrately of the law. Just because the man failed the integrity test and got impeached doesn't take his more than 20 years of judgment out of the play. They needed a constitutional legal expert, because what is the main objective of MK? Is to change the law. It is to change the law so that it could be nationalistic and socialistic. So Hlophe was a 10 pin. I saw it coming. The second one, surprising, was to have people that understood the SOE structures. People that understood how the government companies function. And that's why you get the appearance of people like Brian Molefe. Haven't you not seen them? They are now in Parliament. That was their economic 10 pin. And then they needed a structurer. They needed someone that will immediately hit the basics, would build the MK party now from branch to national. And they got one of the best ones, Floyd Shivambu. Floyd built the EFF. He was the structurer. So when they took him, they knew that revolutionary building of a structure, that will be in that man. What was he appointed as? He was the national structurer, the coordinator. So now they've hit a person that covers law. They've got a person that covers business, the integral side of organized state business. And now they've got a structurer that can take the helm. And then they needed 2 other stuff. They needed to align their policies, and this is the dangerous one. They needed a military conclave. That completes the 5 pillars of MK. And that's why I'm telling you, beware. Beware that you write them off.
So they're going to go into, from here on out, they're going to look more structured, they're going to look more organized. And the one part of the structure that maybe is under question mark is who's in charge, who's the pilot flying this machine?
Yeah.
We understand that at the moment it's Jacob Zuma. That's fine. He's a great name to have on your poster. But Father Time is involved there. And, he's not going to get any younger. That's the only guarantee I can make. And then, they're going to be looking for leadership.
So currently we started at the cult phase. We had Jay-Z. Then we moved to the next phase. Family. It's a family business. And it's still going to grow.
Yeah.
And thirdly, it will, in their hope, then mutate to a fully fledged operating national party where they would like to then be like the ANC. That's their fight right now. They want to duplicate the ANC. The structure. Now you can say what you want. There was nothing wrong with the stability, creativity of the ANC structure for 100 years. I always said, there's nothing wrong with the ANC. There's something wrong with their leadership. There's nothing wrong with your country. We just have bad management. So if they get that right, they stabilize it. In the election, the 2026 municipal election, you will be able to see what is the coordinate effect of 2029. If they get a pro-GNU president, then they will have to bite their breath. If they get someone that's pro-them, then I'm sorry, we might not see a president finish their term, and we might see a revolution. A revolution is not necessary.
Yeah.
This is not going to be a revolution based on blade, gun, and torpedo. This is going to be a capitulation of a lawful structure where they will just walk out and form their new government with the other people. And that will mean the collapse of the GNU.
Does it mean the collapse of Parliament?
No, it means just the collapse of the GNU, because they will, if necessary, go then and run it on a minority scale. But if they choose then to take in, not the EFF, I think, to be honest, which we should be, I think their days are numbered. I think there's no more attraction or chutzpah. You've just got a person there that sits there and bases himself on insults. There's no political bourgeois in that system. They went from 10 to 9. They're not going to survive another one. That's my opinion. It will all be swallowed up by that one machine, in my opinion. And they've got the money. They've got the money. They've got the contacts. Mike, can you imagine every day going to Lutuli House, sharing a lift, and the person in the lift with you is MK? But he's there in your lift. So what do you do? How do you plan? They're sitting around the table. That's why Fakile said last week, Wednesday, many more will still go. We just don't know who. Watch that space.
Where does the money come from?
I think it comes from a quarter here and 3/4 overseas. I think the amount of money poured into that was too horrific to be obtained only here. And I think you can only guess. Just go look at the travel plans of Jay-Z. Go look at the mapping. That will answer you. I mean, this is a person that was a principled founder of BRICS.
Yeah.
So it's there. You and I, we maybe just put it in public by joining the dots, but it's there. And I think that's where they're getting support. That's why there's the big push. I mean, look at Suki. I call him Suki Cyril because we're always looking for him.
Yeah.
Where's he going? Where's Cyril going? Don't you see a person that's kind of buggered?
Yeah.
He sits in China. He's got to smile. He's got to ensure that Russia stays in the game. He's got to continue with the BRICS ideology, especially now that Saudi is joining. That's the Middle East conclave. He has to balance that and the pressure of AGOA, the pressure of America, the pressure of the post-Trump or Kamala. He's got to be ready for that. He can't just knock out Europe. It's still one of our biggest trading partners within the West. I don't want to be him. Let me quickly tell you. He's the proverbial story of the baby that had to be split in two, and we needed wisdom. So I don't envy him.
I don't think he envies him, and I don't think he wants to be him either.
Yeah, Mike, I think
and
he's done.
It shows.
You can see it in his body language.
Yeah.
Ek dink hy's klaar.
Yeah.
I think he's now riding the wave. He just wants to finish. So like you said, the time ticking with Jay-Z. Jay-Z is an icon. I mean, I remember Schlabisa taking over the IFP, but on their prominent marketing and advertising, they still used Buthelezi. They still used his image. They still used his memory. The ANC still goes back to the basics of Madiba when they dig deep. That's they're going back. So, if Jay-Z passes, don't think it's over.
No.
That iconic face amongst those that find themselves in that cult will never change. It will just be who's benefiting.
Yeah, just ask the Peronists in Argentina that still use dead people from nearly 100 years ago.
Sure.
Neil, it's been fantastic to get your insights. I hope that we can get you back on soon.
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you enjoyed Neil de Beer as much as I did. Thanks for lending him to us there, Alec. Thank you. And go rent a car from Pace Car Rental. That'll help you negotiate the potholes. Don't tell Pace Car Rental I said that. You can get a discount and drive through the pothole in their car. Just use our code and you'll get a discount. To everybody that enjoyed this, please subscribe. We'll see you again on the State of the Nation. Neil de Beer, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again soon.
It is a privilege, Mike. And do me a favor. Don't stop. Do what you do. This program has more impact than what you think. So continue. But I'll still stay with Biz News. But yeah, I'm amazed of your content. So well done.
So if you want to watch good content, watch Neil de Beer on a Monday, or so it comes out on a Sunday on Biz News. It's great content, great to watch, and you can get this kind of stuff all once a week. It's fantastic. But thank you for joining us. We'll see you again on the stage.